What's going on, guys? Duel here. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. And for today's matchup, I'm bringing you a prankkids versus Eldlich Numeron matchup with me as the prankkids player going first. Now, this is a pretty decent hand because I have a negation towards one hand trap which my opponent instantly threw at me, the Maxi. So I use my Ash Blossom, negate that. Another good thing about this is since I started with a Lamb Seeds in my hand, even if my opponent nibs me, I can still use the Thunder Dragon Fusion in my hand to go into my Butler. So my combo would go through either one way or another. Like I would still have Butler on the field. Granted, the Butler will not be immune to destruction through card effects because I will not have a Power Bark on the field, but that was still pretty okay. So thankfully my opponent did not have a nib. I activate my Doodle Doo's Tribute, target the prankkids placed in my graveyard, plus a monster card, add them to my hand. With this, since I have a prankkids place and a way to search for my Roxys, I can go through 2 copies of Doodle Doo and maybe draw into a Fusion Destiny to go into my DP. Like that's a pretty tall hope, but still a hope, still could happen. So right here, we go into second copy of Doodle Doo, special of Roxys, go into our Bow Wow Bark, activate Roxys, banish the Roxys. Sadly, I drew into another copy of Pandemonium. Now, if I was, let's say if I wanted to play really smart but really stupid at the same time, what I could have done was set both my Pandemoniums on the field. Now, why am I saying it's smart and stupid at the same time? Because let's say your opponent has a Lightning Storm, he clears out the whole back row, one of your Pandemonium becomes useless. Now, it's smart because in case your opponent targets one copy of your Pandemonium, you would not care. If they target one of it to banish or bounce, you would not care. And you would still have the other copy of Pandemonium on the field to go into your Butler afterwards, in case you draw into Nib off of your Prankkids Pranks recycle. So as I said, it's stupid and smart at the same time. So pick and choose your poison, how you want to do it, how you want to play. So I chose to just set down one copy of Pandemonium and end my turn. My opponent activates the Numeron wall. So now I know he's playing some kind of Numeron network. Like he was playing 56 cards deck. So probably was not just playing Numeron, probably had some other engine added to it as well. It was an Eldlich engine as I said before, but when I was playing the game, I did not know that. So he gets the wall activation, puts the Numeron network on the field, activate pranks, recycle 3 cards, and draw into a Roxys. That's okay. This way, even if my Bow Bar gets negated, I will be able to go into Weather Washer, and since I know my opponent is playing Numeron, if I use Weather Washer's active and put 2 cards on the field immune to destruction through card effects, he would not be able to OTK me anyways, so I was okay either way. My Bow Bar goes through really good. He activates Golden Lord. Now, as I said before, putting 2 Pandemoniums on the field can be a smart or a stupid play, and I explained you guys the reason why. If at this point I had put 2 Pandemoniums on the field, this Eldlich activation of targeting my Pandemonium would not have mattered to me. I would have allowed this to go through to send one of the copies of a Pandemonium on the field to the graveyard. I would still have access to the other copy of Pandemonium to go into my Butler. Now, this can be pretty crucial because in case your opponent has a Forbidden Droplet or a Kaiju, it becomes really important for you to not have your Butler on the field before they can just outright Forbidden Droplet or Kaiju you. And the way to make your opponent miss the activation of the Kaiju is when they activate their Numeron field spell, you chain link your Pandemonium to it, and once it resolves, you'll have Butler on the field, your opponent will have 4 gates on the field. And the priority afterwards is the graveyard activation. It's not the summon, the graveyard activations. And once you activate graveyard, you can chain link your Butler to it to pop your opponent's field. So that way you can make your opponent miss the Kaiju timing and still be able to pop their field. You just have to chain link your Pandemonium in the right way to the right card. So keep that in mind. So sadly, he used the Eldlich, targeted the Panda, so I had to pop up on my Panda early and go into my Butler. And since I know he was playing Numeron Network, I probably should have put my Butler in defense, to be honest, because I was not too sure if he had Forbidden Droplet or a Kaiju. If he had a Kaiju, my Butler was dead either way, even if it wasn't attack or defense, so it would not matter. But if you guys think about it, if he had Forbidden Droplet, I could still use my Butler and tribute itself. Even though it's not going to activate, it's going to be off of the field. So that's why I put it in attack position rather than in defense. So he gets the gates, and at this point, I was really in a dilemma. Do I use, like, my opponent straight up uses Numeron Network to put the gates on the field even after he saw me do the Butler play. So I was thinking, maybe, just maybe, he had a Forbidden Droplet in his hand. So this was a mind game from me towards my opponent, or rather from my opponent towards me. If he had a Forbidden Droplet and I activate my Butler, he could just send one gate to the graveyard and then negate my Butler's activation, right? So what I decided to do was, rather than having all three of my monsters popped on the field, rather than having two of my monsters popped on the field, with Eldlich popping the third afterwards, I was just gonna use my Butler, tribute itself, and then pop my opponent's field. So we already know he doesn't have a Call by the Grave, so that Butler activation would have gone through regardless. The card I was worried about was Forbidden Droplet. So that's why I just tributed my Butler outright and not use my Meow move in the graveyard. So with this, he will just have the Eldlich activation from the graveyard, and he will only be able to kill one monster rather than him killing all of my monsters afterwards. So that's the reason for the play that I did right here. I was trying to play around Forbidden Droplet. He activates Eldlich, sends the Numeron Network to the graveyard, and puts the Eldlich on the field with 3500 attack. Now this right here is a situation where it's a make or break for my opponent. If he kills off one of my Dropsies, really good for him. I would not be able to go into Totally Awesome. So if he sets down a card afterwards, I cannot use Totally Awesome to negate it. But if he bumps into Fansies, that is really, really bad from my opponent and for my opponent as well. Because once Totally Awesome comes on the field, I will be able to do whatever I want. I have a combo starter card in my hand, plus I have Thunder Dragon Fusion, so I could just go into Up Till Doodle Doo, tribute itself, recycle the Butler, use Thunder Dragon Fusion, go into my Butler. So let's see what my opponent does. Now keep in mind this guy's playing Numeron Eldlich, probably a brain-dead opponent, so let's see what card he chooses to attack. Attacks into Fansies. Really good for me, really bad for him. Ends his turn, activates Conquistador. Now this guy, he sent Eldlich with the Conquistador from his hand to the graveyard to activate Eldlich. Conquistador is limited at 1. Like, I don't know if he had any other cards in his hand that he could have sent, but he chose to use Conquistador for that. So really good for us again. Activates Conquistador, sets down Scarlet Sanguine. Not too worried about it because we do have a Raigeki to wipe out the other Eldlich. So with this, draw phase, we instantly go towards Totally Awesome. Now with this, I could just use Totally Awesome, negate, destroy, and yoink his Scarlet Sanguine. So he cannot even activate the Scarlet Sanguine from his graveyard if I chose to use my Totally Awesome negate on that. Normal out my Roxy's, and we are going into Link Climb into our combos. Activate Roxy's, Chain Block with my prankkids plays because this card will go down to 33,000 attack once I do it that way, and banish the Effect Veiler in my hand. Effect Veiler pretty useless at that point, so chose to banish it. Then Link Climb into our copy of Doodle Doo, activate the Lampseas, burn him for 5, and then activate Doodle Doo because I did not have any more monsters I could special off of the Lampseas. Activate Doodle Doo, target the Dropsies in the graveyard, add it to her hand, target the Butler, put it back into her extra deck. With this, I go into my Rocket Ride using the 2 cards. So, activate Dropsies, Chain Block with my Rocket Ride again. It resolves. Rocket Ride goes down to 1000. Dropsies activates. Again, I did not have any monsters I could special. Now with this right here, I go into my Thunder Dragon Fusion. Recycle 3, get my Butler on the field as well. Now activate Prankkids Plays, boost up my monster's attack, and since Rocket Ride did get activated, I could use Rocket Ride to directly attack my opponent in the face, not care about the monsters on the field. That is an effect that comes in handy Not all the times, but sometimes, so keep that effect in mind for the rocket ride, okay? Then use my butler, whack into his other Eldlich. He activates Scarlet Sanguine. I did not choose to totally awesome this because I was worried about him having a nib in his hand. So I let this go through. I was okay with him having this monster on the field. Again, I was worried about nib, so I kept it totally awesome on the field. Kill off the other Eldlich, and then go into main phase 2, use my Raigeki to kill off my opponent's Eldlich that he put on the field. Now right here, I activate Rocket Ride, put 2 Link 2s on the field. I could have left my field like this. I could have activated Doodle-Doo, targeted Pandemonium in my graveyard, added to my hand, plus a prankkids monster, and then left my field like this. But since I know my opponent is playing a back row set deck in his deck type, which is the Eldlich, and Numeron players can have cards like Waboku or One Day of Peace or some, or not One Day of Peace, Waboku or Threatening Roar. So what I decided to do, I just decided to go into my Rip Roaring Roaster. So this way, in case he sets down cards in his back row, I can use Roaster, pop him, and not care about him. With the Prankkids Pranks recycle, I recycle my Meowmoo, my Doodle-Doo, and my Lamseys. And what card did I draw into? Pretty good top deck, a Call by the Grave. So with this, I just use my Call by the Grave, target the Golden Lord, banish one, so that way he cannot activate Golden Lord, put it on the field with 3500 attack. He activates Scarlet Sanguine, banishes it, puts down a Guardian on the field. Now this guy just made a misplay. This is a major misplay, okay? Again, Numeron Eldlich players, do not read card effects. Major misplay. I just Call by the Grave his Eldlich last turn. He tries to activate it this turn. He just literally just threw away the Guardian on the field. So it gets negated, activates Numeron Wall, which I use totally awesome to negate. Do not want to deal with the Numeron network on the field. So I send it to the graveyard, negate the Numeron Wall, activate totally awesome, target the copy of Dropsies, add it to my hand. So next turn I have a combo starter card. He puts down one card on the field face down, pop it instantly. Turned out it was Skill Drain. Okay, not that great, not that bad. Because we can play through Skill Drain with our Prankkids deck easily. Then he activates the Guardian in his graveyard, banishes it, sets down another Scarlet Sanguine. What do? Use Roaster. Pop it. Get poppin'. Pop that thing. No, sir, you are not putting that card on the field. So with that, he ends his turn. I draw into my card. He probably knows I could kill him, and he just outright scoops afterwards. That's going to be the end of the game, guys. If you guys do like this kind of videos, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing to my channel for more daily prank video uploads, and if you guys are interested in the live version of all of this, I do live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/jpbduel. Link along with my schedule is going to be in the video description itself for you guys to check out. This is JPBduel signing out for today. See you all tomorrow. Peace!